So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening. Hello, everybody. My name is Andrea Friso, and I'm from Legor, and I'm very glad to introduce our speakers for the evening and to have the first part of this event concerning silver from manufacturer to the market. So this is going to be a presentation of 1 hour, more or less, into which I will have the chance to speak for the technical part of this treatise. And after me, Mr. Ken Mannering and Elizabeth Hunt from Argentium will join up, followed by Antonio Poliero, Head of Sales from Legor Group. And I would like to start with the presentation itself at this point, so we can just start showing the slides. And the first part of the topic would be a presentation regarding the evolution of silver alloys from previous time to contemporary. So I'd like to ask to the direction. Yeah, okay. So we start with brief agenda. So in more or less 1 hour, we will have time to go through some technical details of this world, which is a very wide topic, and then we will see together the full line of proposals that Legor has in terms of silver as alloys and as brands as well. So, starting from the beginning, we could say that I, as a metallurgist and as the person in charge for the formulations of alloys in Legor, am used to talk about silver alloys rather than silver, because nowadays one considers silver as a single product. But as technical people, we understand that there is a wide variety of nuances and variations to these alloys. So one can have alloys that are from 925 to 960, and there is a wealth of different needs from technical departments that go from different processing conditions and different requests from the technical part. Also, silver is very interesting nowadays, and the expectation from the market, from the commercial, from the marketing, from the communication point of view, have become more strong and more relevant. If in the past we considered silver as a B plan for production jewelry, we could say this is no more. There is a large interest, also with a higher added value perceived on this kind of production. So today we will briefly make a couple of ideas regarding the characteristics of silver, which is nice to see because it is very wide. It has a pricing point, which of course, given from the raw materials that are treated, that is pure silver and alloys connected to that, is particularly convenient. But then it has some drawbacks in which we can see some technical issues that could be from tarnishing or to other aspects related to the processing of the alloy. Can I please have the slides on the monitor here, please? Okay, thank you. So even if it is considered a cheaper formulation or a cheaper alloy, silver is nonetheless very demanding from the processing point of view. So there are technical issues which are speaking to the kind of interest for the participant, to the technology sector, but in the end, this has an importance also for those who eventually sell it and has to make the post-sale assistance. So my presentation will deal regarding the differences of alloys for silver as they have been done through time. So we start with the traditional sterling silver. So since medieval times, metallurgy is not a new technology, so people in Northern Europe had understood and actually had already minted coins which were 9-to-5 silver made with copper. And that is practically the kind of alloy which is still most used, I could say, and cheapest on the market. So that's a classical binary formulation, which is easy to have and somewhat easy to process. But with nowadays requests on technical point, we can say it has some strong drawbacks, like tendency to get oxidized very easily, what goes under the name fire stain or tarnishing. It may have some fluidity issues, which speaks to the casting process as a problem. And it may not be the best process product for some applications in jewelry making. Surely it is easy when you have to do an antique look. And so when you want to have, like you see in the ring on the picture here, you can have some items that have a finishing that is dark, and in that case, that is a wanted aspect. Some other times that would be a drawback. But some companies are making a strength of this capability to make it dark, just because it looks antique, it looks man-crafted, it looks natural and traditional, or all the same. Nonetheless, industry has chosen to evolve. And the first step was, let's say, 30 years ago, when metallurgists tested with success introductions in the alloy, still silver and copper based, the introduction of elements like zinc, silicon, and other controlled impurities to increase the performance of the alloy in terms of reducing the oxidation, having a better fluidity, reducing risks like not protecting stones in stone-in-place casting, and other very technical characteristics. Nowadays, zinc silicon-based alloys are very common. We could say they are a sort of commoditized product. When we also speak about our formulations, we have the list of alloys that are DOX for making casting silver, and we consider that as a status quo formulations. Some of the drawbacks of this are, in some cases, a brittleness issue or some fire cracks and processes issues that are considered a somewhat necessary and acceptable drawback. So this is still not the 100% satisfactory choice to the market, at least to some cases. So because metallurgy, although being old, is still the place for having some research, in the last more or less 25 years, I could say, there have been some interesting introduction. One of them is surely the usage of grain refiners. So these are other controlled impurities that increase the mechanical resistance of the alloy, the shininess, and the possibility to have a better mechanical performance. So the concept here is similar to what one does into gold microstructures, and they have benefits that are visible on part of the products for which maybe it's necessary to have an added value by this case, which sometimes costs something more. So that's a drawback which we could say regarding the grain refiners, but still it's a positive remark and effect that they have. Later than that, we as Legor could say this is sort of a internal development that we did. We worked a lot on ready-to-use silver alloys, that is to say, proposing to the customer the formulation as it's ready to be sold and ready, let's say, ready to be used and cast by the customer. This has an aspect of convenience. You just use one supplier for the material, which is ready to use. You don't need to buy your silver elsewhere. And surely it has a benefit, and that made our strength on the market, we could say, regarding the reduction of issues which are from the technical side. So the fact that you purchase a ready-to-use alloy allows to have an alloy which is oxygen-free. And this is a understated but very remarkable effect that you have on the processing and the reduction of scraps and defects that you have on the end at the end of your production. And this part just launched or at least helped the introduction of other kinds of formulations. The first to say was the one which introduces germanium. So the alloys that go on the market, which we are now proposing to the market under the name ARGENTIUM, were developed and invented by Mr. Peter Jones from the Middlesex University, if I remember correctly. And he's part of the Argentium Alliance, Argentium International Ltd, to whom participate also Ken and Elizabeth. So when we first started the collaboration, we introduced some of the formulations that are currently available. So the use of germanium is important because it has some benefits in terms of increase of fire stain and tarnish resistance. It also increases the hardness of the alloys, and it gives a look which is unique to the alloy. So that's an element which is used exclusively into these formulations, and it has technical as well as communication benefits, as we will see later. So our contribution was to fine-tune the formulations in order to have them stable and viable for most applications. As a result, instead of an evolution of ready-to-use silver, we have been developing instead Silnova. Silnova is a ready-to-use formulation that introduces the use of palladium into silver alloys, and that is the one which has the maximum tarnish resistance into all different conditions. So from the technical point of view, tarnish resistance and also mechanical properties are very interesting points for this alloy. Let's say that we started a metallurgy that was silver-copper based to end with a formulation that instead is only silver-palladium based. Silnova doesn't have copper, and that was the major challenge which we faced when we start the development of this product. You can see more on our website, that's silnova.it, so very easy to remember, to see the whole journey which led to here. And that's also what Antonio is going to discuss about. Irrespective of the kind of alloys that you are looking for, there are some points that should be considered when you're choosing an alloy. Of course, we are technical people, I myself for sure, and we like to consult our customers to get the product that best fits their technical needs. But is that the only thing that you're looking for? Is that only one characteristics? Like, it's nice to have it anti-tarnish, but maybe you can need other aspects. And by other aspects, I think of making your life easy all through and through for your production. And to have your customers, in case they need a story to be told for the alloy, there we have, the solution is there. Or you might just need some technical solution, and that is also available with our range of formulations. As a matter of fact, I will spend a couple of minutes more regarding the technical part. We can say that tarnish is anyway very well felt as a topic for silver production. So nowadays, a lot of jewelers prefer to just rhodium plate or apply e-coating or to make passivation on the items in order not to have any contact between the base metal and the atmosphere. So you reduce the risk for tarnish, but you also lose the natural color, which is typical of silver. And that could be a drawback that might be wanted. But there is also something that we wanted to share with you today, which concerns the way you clean your items after the production. So what we did recently, that was done for a customer that was using Argentium and faced some issues on finished pieces that more quickly than expected got slightly tarnished. So we did a comprehensive kind of testing regarding how to handle the post-production. By post-production, I mean all the steps that go after buffing the items and finishing them in order that they are shiny. So how you clean them, how you protect them in your case before they are sold. So we took a part of experimental tests, and we did several kind of washing and pre-treatments from chemical, electrochemical ways, and using correct or incorrect rinsing conditions. So today we don't have the time to delve into the details of this, but we found out some general guidelines that we can use both for alloys with a name, that is Argentium and Silnova, but that can also be useful for traditional formulations. And this will be able to take out the risk that your item go out of their regular color because of wrong processes. So the conclusions are basically connected with avoiding strong chemicals or electrochemical polishing if you're going to leave the item in a natural way. So if you're not going to rhodium plate immediately, it's better to be milder in the way you clean your items from grease or from depositions of other kind that can be that can come into contact with your item. Also, it's very important to use ultrasonic cleaning with the mindset of improving the single clean, the single passage in an ultrasonic, which maybe is spent or it is already full with grease and dirt from previous days' work. So it's really a layman's advice, but not many use it. So it would be preferable to use a first dirty bath than to just ultrasonically clean that item, and then to have a second step in a milder and cleaner solution, so that you can be sure that the item, when coming out of your vessel, is not recovered with dirt coming from the first bath. This will be then available on our technical charts. So it's going to be a step in which you perfectly understand what you're going to do, and use also the correct rinsing water. So it can be a tap water first, and it could, we recommend softened water rather than deionized water, because that's milder to the item, especially on Argentium, it's beneficial. And then, when possible, to anyway operate a passivation. By passivation, we mean a layer of a chemical compound, which is invisible, untouchable, doesn't change the color of the solution. But in that case, it will allow you to stop the clock of the production and keep the item clean until when it is worn by your user. And that's a way to be clear also with them in the explanation of what they are going to have. So if you're having a Silnova, your resistance will be 20 times that of a regular sterling silver. And that will be done according to the chronometer, which can be deemed as exactly when you put your jewel on your wrist and you start using it. So that is a part which we would like to suggest, as a matter of fact, for all applications. But then, of course, it's a choice that the customer has to make. So maintenance, other points regarding microfiber clothes. Also, when you are at the shop, it's sometimes difficult to explain to the person in front of the end user how they should clean their items. So there could be some knowledge transfer also from the wholesale seller and the detail seller, how they should keep the item in their showcase, how they should clean it, how they should not. Because sometimes we feel there could be a benefit from understanding these things also from the person that is then selling to the end user, who is not supposed to know anything about metallurgy, anything about plating, anything about the story which is told, but just to see the brightness, the nicety of the jewel itself. Okay, so I think my time is done, and I leave my word to Ken Mannering from Argentium, and I thank you very much for your time. The green button works, yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I understand this is a fully international webinar. We've known Legor for probably about 12 years, but last year we decided that Legor would become a much more important partner to us, and that Legor and that Argentium should be seen as part of the Legor branding, quite particularly because of the extraordinary technical support that we've had from Legor, and quite particularly from Andrea Friso and his team. Now, I'm responsible for international business development for Argentium, and the whole process began at Middlesex University in the outskirts of London in the middle of the 1990s. So I've been around Argentium for a very long time, but part of our original plan was that we were going to be the first company to name a silver. Now, clearly that's changed since those days, and we have Silnova now as a great example of that. But this was the first time that a silver was given a brand name. And our vision for Argentium was to build a brand synonymous with premium quality, better in every way than standard sterling. And it's now possible because of this extraordinary collaboration we have with Legor. There we are, and that proves it. Argentium is in its 4 alloys, and that's Argentium 940, 960, in mill form and in casting grain, are robust and are easy to use if indeed you work alongside the technical support you get from Legor. The manufacturing benefits are, of course, essential, and my colleague Elizabeth, to my left here, will elaborate on this message in her presentation. But let me talk a little bit further, if I may, about, assuming I've pressed the correct button, about Argentium. Because when I talk about Argentium being a brand, it's an endorsement brand. It's like Intel, it's like Dolby, it's like Swarovski. We don't plan to try to be Tiffany or Gucci. We know we're not that. We're an endorsement of those brands. Our objective is to drive consumers to make an informed choice of buying into a premium brand, because that premium brand is using Argentium silver, the only recycled silver that's proved to be hypoallergenic. And our brand, our silver mark, the flying Pegasus, is our mark of that guarantee. But we're only at the beginning of this journey. As an endorsement brand, our job is now to make that recycled and hyperallergenic message clear, obvious, and a positive benefit to premium brands and to premium retailers. The message is that our brand will drive consumer choice. That's our intention, that our brand will drive consumer choice. In the coming year, we'll be driving that choice with a simple message. Argentium is purer than standard silver. Argentium is brighter and whiter than standard silver. Argentium is certainly tarnish resistant. Argentium is hypoallergenic, and God knows that's important in this market with silver turning people, parts of people, green. And Argentium does not require plating. Argentium is the only silver. I'm trying to move on to my next slide. There we are. Argentium is the only silver choice for the discerning and informed consumer. We're ready to promote that message across all media platforms. But we are certainly realists after all this time in the business. We know from experience around the world that manufacturers, who always are under pressure to bring prices down, are much more likely to use Argentium silver if they're asked to do so by their customers. What we are at Argentium international need is a catalyst, a brand partner to work with, on whose benefit we can drive home this messaging. We know you're out there listening to this briefing, or at least we hope we know you're out there listening to this briefing. And what we'd like you to do is please get in touch so that we can begin this journey together. And we look forward to hearing from you in very due course. If I may, on that basis, please pass over to my colleague Elizabeth for her demonstration of the extraordinary benefits of Argentium. Thank you all.
Thank you. So my name's Elizabeth Hunt, and I've not been working with Argentium quite as long as Ken, but I've been working on and off since 2007, and I'm now the operations director for the company. Briefly, I'd like to go through some of the consumer benefits of the material, and then I'm going to give a live demonstration for artisans and manufacturers as to one of the benefits that we haven't discussed fully at the moment, which is fusibility, which allows work to be created very quickly for schools and colleges. It makes learning to make silver items very much quicker, and it's a unique benefit that no other silver has. So for the consumer, one of the great benefits is there are two grades of silver, 940 and 960, so it's purer than standard sterling silver. As you'll see when I move down onto the table, I've brought some finished items of silver jewellery with me, and you can actually physically see here today how bright and white the colour is. Much more akin to natural pure silver than a lot of standard sterling silvers. Its tarnish resistance for customers is an absolute bonus because it means you have to clean your silver considerably less. And obviously that's a benefit to retailers as well. It also has superb strength and durability. The material can be heat hardened, which means for products such as watches or bracelets or bangles, or even very thin ear wires, once it's heat hardened, it has a much stronger surface and is more scratch resistant than unhardened silver. As Ken has mentioned, it's also hypoallergenic and antibacterial, which for consumers is a big plus. And when retailers and manufacturers are selling to consumers, the reason we came back to work so much and so strongly with Legor is the fact that the business has a very strong ethical policy, and as members of the Responsible Jewellery Council, we have absolute confidence in the material. So moving on to manufacturing benefits, and I will go through these very quickly because I want to demonstrate the fusibility. It's fire stain free. So when you're casting, and I have some castings at the front that I can show you, you don't have the problems of that nasty grey that you have to get rid of sometimes in casting. It doesn't require plating, which means in this day and age, it is actually better for the environment and more economical. You're not applying rhodium plating. You're also not having to use time-consuming processes or extra chemicals. This is what I'm going to come and demonstrate in a moment. It can be fused to itself and it can be fused to other materials. The rings that you see in this illustration there is no soldering. The gold, the rose gold, the palladium and the yellow gold have all been fused to the argentium. And it allows for a large look of gold, but actually with a very small content. These rings have something like 14% gold on them, and the rest of the material is argentium. The heat hardening process doesn't have to be done in a conveyor furnace. It doesn't have to be done in a highly technical environment. It can be done by an artisan at home or in bulk manufacturing. We support the material that Legor produce with a full range of chains, findings, and lots of other information and support material that's available on our website. And that is argentium.com. But I'm going to come down onto the front and show you just how simple it is to fuse this material. and I'm going to hold up a couple of examples of pieces that have been completely fused. There is no solder whatsoever on these items. So after the presentation, if anybody would like to come and have a look, these chains have been created completely. There's over 96 fusings in this, no solder whatsoever. And it's a very, very simple, quick way to produce product. So I'm going to quickly anneal these two jump rings, and there's nothing very glamorous about what I'm doing. This is purely just to give you an example. So I'm going to just de-stress the metal by annealing them. And that's going to allow me to make sure that when I close up the jump rings, there is a point of contact, if I'm not splattered by the charcoal block, between the two ends of the jump ring, because what you do need, as you're not applying solder to this work, you have to make sure that there's a point of contact on any of the items that you're fusing. So I'm just going to take my glasses off so I can see what I'm doing. So I need to make sure that, let's find the ends on the jump ring. So the jump rings need to be absolutely as tight as possible. So you can see there's a gap. I'm just going to close it up. And you need that point of contact because you're not filling the gap with solder. So I'm going to do this with the smaller torch, which might make it a little bit easier to see. I'll take the flame right down. The other point of information that I do need to give you is that Argentium does not conduct heat quite the same way as sterling silver. So whereas with a piece of sterling silver you would heat the piece all over, with this you don't need to. You can be very localized in the point that you're fusing. So I'm going to take the torch flame right in, and I'm normally doing this sitting down, so I'm sorry if I'm bending over a little bit. I'll put a little bit more heat around. But it's very quick when it happens, and what you're looking for, I'm hoping the camera can pick this up, you will see the surface of the metal starts to look wet. And of course today this is going to be where it's very slow. But it's just coming up to fusing temperature now, and you are literally looking for the surface of the metal to go wet. Allow the piece of the work you're working on to cool a little bit, and I will just quench it very quickly. And I don't know whether your cameras are going to pick up, but that has sealed completely. There is no joint now. So unlike sterling, which if you were joining you would have solder down the gap, what you've got here is a metal that has joined across itself. So if I sawed back through this, there's no gap, there's no solder, and there's no discoloration because you've got a different coloured solder in it. It's a fused single piece of metal. So it means that for anybody learning to make jewellery or people who are making a lot of handmade jewellery with lots of links in like these pieces, they don't have to worry about making clean solder joints because it naturally makes a very, very clean joint. And it's a great pleasure to work with. I hadn't made a piece of jewellery I studied at college in the 1980s and I didn't make any jewellery until 2 years ago. And I've restarted making jewellery because this is such a pleasure to work with. So I have a real belief in this material, which is why I'm quite happy standing up here and demonstrating it, because I know it works. And that is thanks wholly to a lot of the work that's been done by Legor. So that's a very quick demonstration. If anybody wants any more information after the show, talk to us or have a look on the website at argentium.com. Thank you, and I will pass over to Antonio.
Good evening to everyone. I'm Antonio Pogliero. I'm head of sales for Master Alloy Division for Legor Group. And today I'm going to talk to you about Silnova. Silnova is the new white precious metal comparable to white gold. So let's discuss and let's give you which are the main features about Silnova. Because Silnova is natural, And by natural, we mean that there is no need of a galvanic coating on top, such as rhodium, for example, which nowadays is quite expensive metals to plate on top of jewelry. Is timeless, because all objects created with Silnova are tarnish resistant, as a 9-carat white gold, which means more or less 20 times more than sterling silver. And this, of course, helps to keep the beauty and the shyness over time. Thanks also to its copper-free formulation, Silnova do not suffer from fire stain, and unlike sterling silver do. And even in the case there is an undergoes of variation, of color variation, this is uniform and stable in time. Silnova is precious because it's the only silver in the market more similar to white gold than any other metals, and it contains palladium, which is a metal that today is more expensive than gold, and it's part of the platinum family, which provide its preciousness and high whitening power to Silnova. Silnova is unique because it's white and extremely bright. It's clearly different from any other metals in the market, and its unique color has become an added value to the final customer. It's versatile because it guarantees freedom in manufacturing, and is an adequate hardness can be reached by an age hardening process. Oxidation in the surface is very low after being laser worked, either in marking or cutting. And from a mechanical point of view, Silnova is offer excellent mechanical properties with very high health and tensile strength. It's eco-friendly because it's made by 100% recycled material, and of course it allows also a lower impact on the environment as it avoids to need for the plating. Be safe, because after many rigorous tests, Silnova is proven to be both antibacterial and hypoallergenic. And Silnova do not contain any copper and nickel. Let's now see some accelerated corrosion test that has been done to prove the corrosion resistance and tarnish resistance of Silnova, because Silnova passed through an impressive R&D project, which involves more or less 186 plausible formulation, and it lasted for more than 3 years. Two main tests that has been conducted on Silnova alloys were resistant to environmental condition, which is a well-known test in the fashion industry, and this test assesses long-term exposure to chemical compounds present in leather and the effect of saline atmosphere in hot and humid environment. Another test that were conducted is the resistance to chlorine, and it is known as a swimming pool test. This procedure assesses the impact of corrosive chlorine-based solution, such as can be found in blanching, detergent, and pool waters. We do not only conduct laboratory tests on Silnova, but we made also a real-life test. This real-life test was performed by assembling 6 bracelets composed by beads, and these beads were made with 6 different silver alloys and 2 gold alloys, one yellow and the other one white, and with the title of 9 carats. and all beads were made by wax casting and submitted to a standard polishing process. The first test that we have done involved 6 people in 3 different countries for 9 months of duration, and a periodic control was done on each of the bracelets. The same kind of test was then repeated in a larger amount of users for 9 months as well, using only a single object alloys for each of the users. Silnova today is a well-known alloys in both jewelry and watch industry. And one characteristics that involves Silnova, but also Argentium and all other alloys that are being presented by Andrea, is that all our ready-to-use silver are produced with 100% recycled material. And I take this opportunity also to remind that Saturday, our General Manager, Mr. Corso Balboni, will introduce the Magic 5. The Magic 5 is a choice that Legor has made to use all gold, platinum, palladium, rhodium, and silver coming from 100% recycled source. Thank you for listening, and now I leave the presentation, the conclusion of the presentation to our colleagues, Kamal, which should be here with us as well, connected from
online.
Yes, from USA.
Kamal, can you hear us? There you are.
Antonio and Andrea, for your introduction. A lot of very valuable information shared today. I'd just like to draw up a conclusion to the whole presentation so far. Legor, through its extensive research and development, created a range of silver formulations to meet the needs of every brand and manufacturer. We therefore aptly call this presentation the evolution of silver from manufacturing to consumer. Just a quick recap on all that has been discussed by my distinguished colleagues through this presentation. Legor offers a traditional formulation that is predominantly a mix of silver and copper. Based on the needs to improve the processing characteristics in casting applications, Legor upped the scale by introducing fluidizers and deoxidizers in traditional sterling silver formulations. This was to allow for better flow characteristics, fire scale free castings, and clean cast surfaces to reduce the pickling process times and acid exposures. Through our partnership with Argentium International, Legor offers a range of 940 and 960 sterling silver purity formulations. These are specifically developed for either investment casting and mechanical working applications. Ken and Elizabeth have stressed on the benefits of the Argentium formulations to offer the following advantages: fire scale free, superior anti-tarnish resistance, heat hardenable to 140 Vickers with a 2-step stage age hardening process, thereby improving the hardness on thin wall designs as well as improving overall scratch resistance. Argentium is made from 100% recycled silver content and is supported with an RJC COC certification. It is hypoallergenic, fusing capability, as you have just witnessed in the live demonstration exhibited by Elizabeth. A premium silver color tone and product luster that does not need any surface plating to protect against tarnishing or to lend extra whiteness that buyers are seeking. This eliminates the process of plating chemicals and manpower costs, as well as being more environmentally sustainable. To up the anti-tarnish to even a higher level, Legor created the Silnova, a patented formulation with the addition of a noble metal. Antonio presented this unique formulation to us all and enlightened us on its advantages. Silnova by far offers the best anti-tarnish benefits and coupled with the most advantages presented in the Argentium. Our products are available globally and supported by a network of our branches, resellers, and partners. Thank you all very much for your time today, and thank you to my colleagues, Mr. Antonio Polero, Mr. Andrea Friso, as well as to our partners from Argentina, Mr. Ken Mannering and Ms. Elizabeth Hunt, for their contributions to the presentation. On a final note, thank you to Ms. Elizabeth Marney and to Ms. Sarah Regan at Legor for all their support in putting this presentation together. We are available to discuss your needs and requirements at our booth and offer best product solutions for you. Please feel free to stop at our booth. That's at Hall 9, stand 160. Thank you all once again. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I now pass along the event over to Mr. Andrea Friso. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kamal. Thanks a lot for your input. And it's time now for us for a brief question and answers session in case there are from the attendees. Otherwise, we would consider complete the meeting and the event. And we thank you a lot for participating and still until the end of the presentation. If there are any other further questions, our booth is at the T-Gold exhibition, so on the Pavilion L, and we'll be glad to assist you for any further technical and commercial inquiry you might have on our range of products. And I wish to thank all of the speakers today, Antonio Polero, Ken Mannering, Elizabeth Hunt, and I think from me, Andrea Friso, it's a thank you and goodbye, everybody.